All right. So, like I was telling the group, we're going to cover how to create an onboarded or an automated onboarding form using GHL only. So, the benefit of this is that when you're starting out, maybe you just don't have the budget. Maybe you don't want to set up the third party systems. Maybe you just want something simple to use because when you're starting out, you probably have more time than anything as you're perfecting your process. So, I always like to kind of scale up my approach. And then really go into perfecting it or making it a little bit easier as I go. So let's go ahead and do this, and we'll go here and let's pop that open, and we can start putting together a custom onboarding form. Got a few people joining. Omar, Simon, what's up, guys? So like I
Morning.
said, hey, how's
Hello.
it going? So we're just doing the automated onboarding forms um, that we're going to go through. So let's see. So we're in the form. So GHL, you go in the form. So what I do for the automated onboarding, and if you guys have a different approach, let me know. This is just what I found to be like the fastest, easiest way to have the onboarding. So what I'm going to walk you through is basically number one, I actually will build the form in their sub account. So sometimes what somebody will do is they will say like, you can build your onboarding form in your own GHL account, your agency account. And so, for example, if you have like your agency account, like let's say your agency account is Jake's agency, Omar's agency, Simon's agencies. Then you might have a form in there that is your onboarding form. Now, when they submit those fields, problem when you're GHL only, the problem becomes how do you get the values that they give you into their sub account, right? So usually it's gonna be a copy and paste, right?
hmm
What I do, and again, you can still do it that way. If it's just a matter of copy and pasting, that's perfectly fine. If you're doing like a full setup, like if let's say you have like Integromat, let's say you have Make, or I keep saying Integromat, let's say you have a Make, Zapier, and some kind of third party system, or maybe you're just doing your own custom, webhooks, right? You can have it within your own agency account. They fill it out and then it goes to their information, auto populates it, right? There's software that does, I think like HL Automate specifically is for that for GHL, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the sub account. If I have no third party systems, I'm going to make the form in their sub account. So it becomes part of their snapshot. And so what we're going to do in the form you're going to see is we're going to create the questions and then we're going to create automations that as they enter these custom fields are going to update custom values. The custom values will auto populate across their website, across their automations, their messaging, everything that already has that custom value put in place, right? So that's what you're doing with the custom onboarding. So it's not actually that complicated. Now, if you get to the questions of like, okay, well, what about the things where I want them to send me information? Like, what about the things where like maybe it's like domain access or things like that? What we're gonna do in the automation is we're going to just have when that question is answered, we're just going to have an email to a specific email, right? Because you can do that with internal notifications. Is you can pick a specific email that's not actually in your system. So I can actually send it to my specific email saying, "Hey, go ahead and do A, B, and C." Right now, again, this is completely outside of any third-party systems. What you can do as well is you can have a task created that just says, "Hey, create a new task using ClickUp, like a new client task using ClickUp or Trello or something, Asana," and then you can go through your onboarding checklist there. You can create tasks there, but just a quick and simple onboarding. I'll just show you what that looks like. So let's say we have just a simple form, right? So let's just do a start from scratch, and this should be a pretty quick topic. So let's say we got first name, last name, phone number, email. Let's say we throw in some custom fields. So let's say we do something like Um, let's see. I want to see if there's any like business name ones, right? This is just and I just in a sub account, random sandbox sub account. So let's go here. No, let's just say, organization name, right? So we just throw organization name in there. So we got first name, last name, phone number, organization, email, right? So we can throw in all different kinds of questions. We could throw in like your services, your hours of operation, anything you want, right? I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty there because you can use your own creativity. It's going to vary. But what I want to show you is how you actually cross populate it, right? So now I've got form one, and we're going to just leave it as form one. We're going to go to automation. We're going to create a new workflow. Let's do from scratch. And so the submission, obviously, is going to be the form submitted, right? And the form submitted is going to be form one. Super simple, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to have update. I can't say that does that. It's going to say update contact fields. And we should have where the fields are going to be updated there. So it should be adding the custom values actually. So it should be value, update custom value. Here we go. So the current value is going to be whatever that is there before, right? Now, again, if it's a snapshot in their sub account, there shouldn't really be anything there. The new value just becomes contact, scroll down, custom fields, and you have any questions you're asking them, right? So this will be your custom ones, but then maybe we have company name, right? So then I want to update this custom value. And this custom value can be based on the field, the custom field, as to what they put in the form, right? So for example, if I have a custom question, let's say I don't want to use this, let's say contact custom fields, and then for example, base labor cost, right? Hey, what's your base labor cost? And I want to update this value of base labor cost, right? So they're answering that question. The question might be, hey, what is your base labor cost, right? And so the custom value that we're going to update is going to be, let's see, labor. So let's say it's labor cost for carpet, right? Current value is 0.95 per square foot, right? And then I just, again, ask the question, what is your maybe base, oops, wrong one, but it doesn't matter. Same principle applies, right? What is your base labor cost? So this new value is going to be the custom field that we're getting from their question. And then the custom value is going to be what's updated. So let's say we save this.
So we
So
should have a matching custom value and custom field for each customizable data point.
that's what I recommend, yes.
Okay.
Because what I've found in doing that is you're going to be updating that information anyway. So for example, if I want to calculate, we can go back here really quick, your custom values. So like if I have these values right here, right, I'm going to use these, and this is from the example for the remodeling floor installation, right? So they're doing the floor installs and the stair replacements or remodeling. I'm gonna have to calculate that information anyway from them, right? Just for this example. So if I want to say, okay, I need to get this information anyway, my onboarding form can say, what information do I need to collect? And then I can ask a question asking the user or the new client to collect that information. So, for example, if I need to figure out what is your business name to put on your website, that becomes a custom value. For me to gather that information, it becomes a custom field that I put in my form that says, what is your business name? So then we need a way to try to translate it over, right? Now, and you can do that with everything. So it can be front facing stuff like the business name, the organization name, the hours of operation, the address. It can also be back end things like, hey, how much do you charge for carpet labor per square foot? How much do you charge for buzz cut? How much do you charge to do a standard clean on a standard clean per square foot? How much do you charge per um, per month on taxes, right? For this many transactions. So once I understand what it is I need to collect, I can understand how to gather that information, right? Like, and again, like it sounds complicated when I say it out loud, but if you just think it through, it's very simple, right? It's like what I need to buy toothpaste. That's the custom value, toothpaste. What toothpaste do I need? That's the custom field, right? So then if I say I need Aquafina, then when I go to brush my teeth, I'm using Aquafina, right? So if we can ask the question saying, and you build it backwards. So the first question should be, what do I need? The second question should be, how do I get that from the customer? So when you're going through, like, let's create like this onboarding checklist. We're just using a free ClickUp account. Let's say I'm onboarding a new client, right? And so for Grant, because I work with Grant for his with his lawn care agency. So let's say some of the things that we need to do would be um, connect domain. right? So this is a task that we have to do with the agency. So I'm going to save this task. I'm going to pop this open because we have nesting turned on. And then under this checklist, what I can do is I can say, does the client um, have a domain, right? If they don't have a domain, then obviously we need to get them one, right? Does the client have a domain? From there, um, redirect domain. From here, set up LC subdomain access. From here, update headers, and then from here should be good to go, right? So from this list of questions, right? Does the client have a domain? Redirect the domain, set up LC domain access, and update headers for the domain. Which of these do I need to gather from the actual client, from the actual user? I just need to ask them, do you have a domain and can you grant me access, right? So I can say, does the client have a domain? And I can even add in here like um, share domain access, right? I don't need this one. So the only two questions, the only thing I need to ask the customer or the client is, do you have a domain? I do or I don't. It's binary, right? If you have a domain, can you share me access? If you don't have one, either here's how to get one and then share access, or we can get it for you and then we'll transfer it over to you, right? And that's just based on, preference and communication. So what's cool is if I want to, excuse me, what I can then do is I can then have as these checklists here, I can then come into, again, let's say we're using ClickUp. I can come in here with a description and I can basically come back over here to a new tab. I can go to help.gohighlevel.com. I can type in domain and I have all my setting up the domains. And then, maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I want to do, a dedicated sending domain, right? So let's go over here and then perfect. So I know this is the right link. All I'm going to do is just save this link, go back into ClickUp, paste it, and I can do like a little embed. Maybe I can change the embed preview. So maybe it's just like convert to URL. Let me see what else we could do. There's different previews I can do. Um, let's just leave it like that. So then what I can do is in this task, I can save this process, right? So I can just save this. Hey, let's go ahead and set this up. Or what I could do if I don't want to use ClickUp at all is I can go into GHL and I can say when they submit this form, let's create a task, right? So I can say, okay, update this custom value, and let's say we're just doing domain, right? Update custom value, and then I can do create, oh sorry, it's add task. Always forget the language they use. Add task, and I can just put in here, set up domain. Here's the URL, right? And I can assign that to me in their own subdomain because now it's given to me, and I can say, hey, you've got 5 days to set it up, and then task name, assign, subdomain setup, title, setup, contact, first names. Um, we call it like their sales email, right? That's what usually I call it for them. And so you can repeat this process like as many times as you want, right? Just updating the different custom values and creating a task with it. And you can go through and do this repeatedly over and over and over again. And what's going to happen is either you're getting tasks assigned to you, or as the custom values are being updated on the call or as they're doing the onboarding form, then what they're getting is they're just getting it cross-populated across all of their assets, all of their messaging, all of their emails, all of their websites, anywhere where that custom value is going to populate. And you can repeat this as many times as you want. The form is submitted, we're going to update all the custom values. Let's say you want to add an email to yourself. So you can do I believe it's to send an internal email. Let's go email. And then we can do to user type, and you can actually do particular, or you can do custom email. So let's say you're not in their sub account for whatever reason. You can do a custom email, and I can just email everything to myself. Even though this is in Simon, Omar, Jake, Bob, Susan's account, it doesn't matter. I can email all of these notifications to me specifically saying, hey, they fill out the onboarding form, go ahead and create this, right? And so what's cool is if you have like someone managing your account, or if you even want like your email account, or if you're like a secretary, or maybe you want to email it to like the head of your sales team, right? So maybe you want to send it over to sales at say so funnel, right? It's not me, but or maybe onboarding at say so funnel, or maybe it's like team at onboarding dot say so, like whatever that team is, you can email it to them, and then they can email saying, hey, action needed, go ahead and do these tasks, right? Now again, this is a very like simplistic way of approaching the onboarding form, but this is 1,000 times better than what I see most people do, which is they go, "Oh, I have a new client. We got to do this stuff. We got to do this stuff. Let me make a list. Let me like write it down. Oh, I forgot this. I forgot that." And then it becomes like this kind of clunky experience. So if you can identify, now your first couple of times it's going to be clunky, right? It's going to be very awkward, right? First time you do anything is going to be very awkward, right? Go watch a baby try to walk. Once you have figured out what information you need to collect, there's going to be a back and forth. Like I remember like we put together like a full onboarding form. We go through it, and then the team's like, hey, Alec, we're missing A, B, and C. I'm like, great. Let me go ask the contact, hey, here's a few things we need extra. And then I'm going to take those questions and I'm going to put them in my onboarding form and then add tasks that come from that. Right. So that's all it truly is a matter of, is making sure, number one, your form collects all the information you need. Number two, you're updating anything you can, and you're adding tasks to do the rest. So again, it's very, very simple. It's very free to do. Form, update your custom values, create tasks, internal notifications. And you don't even have to do all three of those. You can pick like, I just want to be internally notified of all the information. So for example, you could do like an internal email right here. And then we could do, a particular email. You send it to that custom email that you had. Subject would be, something like, I always do action needed when I have action I want to do. Action needed. You could say begin onboarding client. And then you could put all of the custom values. So you can say, hey, it's for this individual, right? So we could say begin onboarding contact name with company. Here's their information. Let's say you don't even want to touch the custom values yet, right? You just want to do it like manual. Here's their information. And then you could just come in here and say custom fields, and you put all their information, right? So you can say, hey, here's their, obviously you'd have other values in here, but let's say you click, okay, here's their base labor cost. Now for context, right before it, you would just want to come in here and put base labor cost, right? So something like that. So you can say base labor cost. You can say, here's their domain. Here's the domain provider they're using. Here's their website name. Here's their business name. Here's their hours of operation. And again, if you're like, well, how do I collect that from the client? All you're doing is putting it in the form for questions to ask. So again, it's not a really complicated process, but it is a process that most people are just absolutely not doing whatsoever.
Do you have a recommendation as far as whether to use one form, multiple forms, or a survey, or does it really not matter?
What I do typically is, let me see if I have this in the agency account. What I typically recommend is having it as one form, because I really want them to knock it out. And I know people will say like, well, what if they do bits and pieces of it, or what if it's like incomplete? What you can do is you can, and this is what I do here, like starting out, I have this onboarding sequence, and I basically push them to a hop on a call with me where we knock it out on the call. Where I'm like, okay, I need this information. Like, let's get this information right now. Because most of the time, I've found that if you leave it up to them, they take forever to do it. Like just an unnecessary. I mean, we had a client who I think he took like 3 days. All he had to do was forward an email to his website guy. That's all he had to do. 3 days to forward it over. But magically, if we schedule a call and they think to themselves, either now I have time blocked off in my schedule to do this, they'll do it, or they'll say, wait, you're telling me if I just forward this email, we can cancel this call? Yeah, let's do that. So sometimes like business owners appreciate you physically blocking time out of their schedule for something you need. Again, if these and that's not always. So what I do is like I'll do like a I think it's right here. Let me see. So I have this onboarding confirmation where I basically say like, oh no, this is the confirmation. I think it's the need to book. Yeah. So in the need to book, I'm basically like, hey, book your call, wait a day, book your call, wait a day, book your call, wait a day. And then I just create a task, and the task is like manually reach out to these people to like book the stinking call. Like that's basically what it is. And you can do that with the onboarding form as well. So you can say, hey, fill out the onboarding form. And if you're not, and you can do a very simple trigger with or automation with that. So let me show you real quick. Let's go to a sandbox mode. Okay, so let's say I want to do like an automation where all I'm doing is reminding them to submit the form. Like I would just want them to submit the form. So I could say the trigger. Now this would be in your agency account. This would not be in their sub account. So the trigger would be like um, probably be like payment received, right? So like you have a new client, right? Maybe payment or you know what it actually would be a better one? Your subscription. So this could be subscription, and then your status would be if you have a trial or not, it would be so let's say if you have a trial, then you would do trial. If you have no trial, then you just do active. So let's say the minute they sign up a trial, you want to onboard them. So now this subscription status subscription trial started is your trigger. And what you're going to do is then you would just basically email them the form. So you just send an email. So you would just say like action needed, fill out your onboarding form, right? And I'm just going to copy this over here. And let's say you have a link, right? You just hyperlink it. And we're going to call this email onboarding form. So then I'm going to do like a wait. I'm going to do 1 day, name it appropriately, 1 day. And all I'm going to do is copy um, all actions. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to do it again. So let's say I want to email them like three times before I say like enough is enough, get over here, right? So then what I'll do is I'll have this that says maybe like a manual action to SMS, manual action to call, or it could just be add task. And the add task is like contact name,
Smack these people around.
yeah, has not submitted their onboarding form, right? So then put this here, assign to their user, and do in now, right? So now let's say, okay, well, this is going to keep going until they submit the form. So the next automation would just be very simple. I don't know what's in here. We're going to get rid of it. Perfect. So the next automation would just be this form submitted. And if they submit the onboarding form, let's say, let's pretend form one is your onboarding form. The first action is just going to be remove from workflow. And that's going to be another workflow. And that'd be, I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I think it was this one. Right. And that's of course why you want to name everything. But I would just remove it from that follow-up because if they've submitted the form, I don't want to keep following up with them. Right. So form submitted, we remove from the workflow. So you just have those two go hand in hand. And that way you can email them to fill out the onboarding form. Or you can just email them to with let's say you're like, okay, well the form is in their link, right? Let's say like you have your onboarding form is in their sub account. You can just tell them, hey, you need to fill out your onboarding form, go here. Like you can have instructions, right? So the instructions would be click the marketing tab, click the or sorry, click the sites tab, click the forms tab, click the builder tab, find the onboarding form, click the three dots, click preview, fill out the form. So it can just be step by step by step. Like that's what I'll do for a lot of my tasks. I can see if I even have an example, but it's very simple. It's just like step one, step two, step three, step four. You can even go to, let's say you're like, well, I want them to have a, better guide. You can go to like Tango AI. They have a free plan and you can basically record yourself going to find it, create a document, and then put that document in the email that you send to them. Saying like, oh, follow these steps, like dummy proof, follow these steps. There's pictures and words to help you go along with it. And what I always do when I create SOPs is I do a screen recorder like Loom or Descript, and I'll do this. Because if you look at how high level does it, right? They have the screenshots, but they also have a video at the top that will walk you through the screenshots. So if you want to create both at once, screen record yourself and set up Tango AI at the same time, Go through the process. As you're going through the process, it'll create the PDF walkthrough that looks like what that has the images. And as you're doing it, it's going to record it. So then your SOP has a video at the top, and below it, you have all of your walkthroughs. So that's a really fast way to create SOPs.
Do you know if that works in Spanish, Alec? Tango?
I don't know if it works in Spanish, but what I can say is you can just, whatever it gives you, because it's going to be screenshotting your actual like what you're going through. So your screenshots will most likely be in Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Worst case, you just take what it gives you and you just throw it into Chat GPT or translate it, a translating app, right? I don't think see anything for Spanish. Try Espanol. Maybe language. Here we go. So it
Oh.
just operates in English, but
Mm-hmm.
you have the Tango editor to translate the language as needed. So you can just take it, throw it into Claude, throw it into ChatGPT, and say translate this into conversational Spanish.
Oh, okay, okay.
Not saying that you don't know how to translate, but just saying so you don't have to. You know what I mean? Obviously Omar speaks both languages, but if you're like, hey, can I do this faster? I would take it, throw it into something like Chat, a translating software or translator, um, Claude even, and then I'd go through and then I would say, okay, does this make sense in Spanish, right? Because sometimes, I mean, you know this, right? I've done some translating as well, not nearly as much as you, but you know this. It'll translate it sometimes a little too literally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it might say go there, but in Spanish you say look there, right? So the differences in the speech patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I would do.
Okay.
And it's not going to give it to you perfectly because it's using AI to try to understand what you're doing. But what I love about it is that it will crank out pictures like this. That's what I want. Like I don't have to do. And what's cool is I could be wrong, but I want to say it actually does GIFs, not pictures. So what's cool is it'll actually show your mouse moving and clicking so they can follow and click with you.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. I want to say it does that. Now I know there's another one that does that, which is ScribeHow, but I'll show you my problem with ScribeHow. I don't even know which one it is. It is .com. So here's my problem with ScribeHow. Is that the pricing, if you want so they have a free plan too, but if you want to pay it, it starts at 5 seats. So they're like, oh, it's 12 a month, starting at 5 seats. So
Hmm.
I don't feel right recommending it to somebody, just saying, hey, go get it at 5 seats for 12 a month. And then they have the Pro Personal, 23 a month. This one's really good. Same, very similar. And this one I know does gifts. Let me see if they show you. You can see they talk about it's for, look at this. What's funny is it says training docs, questions, assisting customers, something else, onboarding new hires, creating SOPs. It's all creating SOPs. Like that's all it is. So you can use this, and these 100% do gifts. And you see it'll show you like, oh, click here, click here. So it's showing like when your mouse is actually clicked, it'll actually like highlight it. And look, this is kind of what it looks like. So all you're doing is start capture, and then all you do is just keep working. So it's really, really nice. And it puts it into a shareable link in PDF. But again, you would have to have the pro plan, I think. So this one is a little bit cheaper. And there's no seat minimum. So I think it's gonna be a little bit better for your teams. But again, either way, they do the same thing. And yeah, they create those gifts so you can put that into your whatever you're emailing out to people. That's the benefit of it. But I always say like you don't like here's the big mistake a lot of people make, and then I'll see what questions you guys have. The big question that a lot of people make is don't automate something that doesn't work. Like automation is only good if the workflow that you're automating makes sense. So if you're like, well, I don't know what I need to collect, you should not be automating any of it. You should just be talking to them, gathering it, making a list of questions on a pen and paper or on a Google Doc. And then you're like, oh, well, I need this too. Make that question. I need A, B, and C. And then you'll go to them and say, hey, can you give me A, B, and C? And as you go through experience, you'll see all the different alternatives. Like, for example, first guy I had, do you have a domain? Yes. Second guy I had, do you have a domain? No. Great. So there's two options. They have it or they don't have it. Now, the guy who has it, where do you have it? The guy who doesn't have it, do you have a preference as to where we get it, right? So you can add conditional logic into your forms or surveys to really capture all that information. But starting out, if you think to yourself, it's just like product development. If you think to yourself, I need to have everything built out before I do it, all you're doing is you're just wasting time. I've never had a client say, "You didn't automate this, I'm out of here." It's like anybody have a mother who's like vacuuming the walls when they have guests coming over?
I have an ex-wife.
Yeah. What
She
did she do
she
that?
she barely ever cleaned the house. It was a mess all the time. But boy, if we had company coming to the house, everything had to be spotless. I'm
Right. And
like,
so
well,
they're
why don't you just live the way you want people to think you live?
that's too hard. That's too hard. But when you do that, right, like they'll start doing things that people don't even care about, right? They'll start cleaning things that people like the bottom of the candlestick. It's like, what are we doing here? So I'm not saying it's not needed. I'm just saying a lot of people just they'll say I need it perfect before I get a client, and all you're doing, if that's the kind of like the way you're thinking, is you're just procrastinating. That's all it is. Nobody on one like think about this. Number one, nobody's expecting a finalized product from a new company. Number two, show me one startup that had a finalized product from day one. It doesn't happen because they understand that cash is king. You've got to get sales, and the only way you get sales is from knowing what the customer wants. The only way you know what the customer wants or what your team wants, which by the way, your team is also a customer, is by actually working with them. If you read, I think it's Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand, he talks about how so many people focus on the customer journey that they forget to realize that the point of a story is to create buy-in. And if your team does not have buy-in to the process, then they're not going to work the same way you want them to work. So it's a waste of time. So you basically your team needs equal buy-in to whatever your process is. And so a big part of that is just saying like, hey, what do you guys need? What do you guys want? Like, what do you think should be better? What is the data telling us, right? But yeah, just a simple onboarding form where you're just updating the custom values based on the questions you're asking them, cross-populate across the website, the automations. And it's super simple, right? Like if I have an automation and I want to, I'm just picking a random one. Let's say I want to use the automation, right? And let's say I'm having, let me just use a blank one if I can find one. That's fine. We'll just create a new one real quick. So let's say you want to, let's say you have messaging, right? So you have like an email, or let's just do SMS because I'm tired of doing emails. Let's say you have an SMS that goes out to a contact, right? From your client. So your client's emailing one of their customers. Let's say it's a landscaper, right? They might say, "Hey, contact first name. It's I hate when it does that. User first name with and then it's going to be account, and this is going to be the name, right? The company name. So how can I update the company name? Well, if they're not filling it out on when they make their account, then I can have the onboarding form that just takes that information. So now, instead of me having to come into this message and updating this to say, hey, this is Simon with HomeSpark, I can just leave it as its username with location name. So now when I make Simon an account, it's going to auto-populate Simon with HomeSpark. When I make Omar an account, it's going to be Omar with his business, Jake with his business, Alec with his business, right? So I don't have to come in here and do that work. So it's going to be a lot easier to work with. And again, this is just a free way. A lot of people talk about like using Make and using Pabbly, and they're really good ways, don't get me wrong. But in the beginning, too many people, like a lot of people are just, you're just too worried about having it like fully built from day one. So you spend like 1 to 9 months. I'm not even exaggerating, 1 to 9 months. I know people who've had high level for a year and never even reached out to a client because they're just building. So you've got high level for anywhere under a year, and you're like, well, I have to build this and I have to have this and it has to have perfect. And the whole time you got people dumber than you, like myself, making way more money because we're just moving forward and we're letting the real world and real feedback be our guide, not this like mental imaginary land, right? If you read Value Proposition Design, it's a very funky shaped book. One of my favorite quotes in there, and I don't even think if they know who said it, but one of my favorite quotes in there is they say like the answer is not within the four walls that you own. Basically, they're saying like get up, get out of your business, leave the four walls of your business digitally or physically, go talk with the contact. Go talk with, if you're in the free group that I have, I share like a bunch of reels and posts from other people who are way, way more successful than I am. And they're all saying the same thing. If you don't have the contact, like your customer as the focal point, you are going to fail. There's no if, and, or but about it, right? But yeah, that's it. Again, like I said, it's a very simple automation. It's a very easy automation. They submit the form, and all you're doing is in that form submission, you are collecting the information. So they submit the form, you remove from the workflow, and then you're updating all your custom, excuse me, all your custom values. Option two, you have your custom onboarding form in your own agency account, so you can send them the link. You send them a link, they give you the information, and you just copy and paste it into their custom values. Either way, it takes no more. Once the form is submitted, it's taking very, very little time to actually get it done. So, like if I'm coming in here, I think I need to turn on nesting for this. So let me see if I can turn nesting on for him. Um, I always forget where to go for this. Let me see. I wish they had the search bar in here. Maybe spaces, settings. No, we just set this one up too, so I'm gonna have to find it again. I always hate looking for this. Oh wait, I think it's on this page.
Isn't it in the it's a window that opens up. It's like the app click apps. It's in the click apps, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. There it is. Yep. And then we keep 7. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Simon.
Yep.
So now I can come in here and do this the way I wanted to do it. So I could say connect domain, and then I could do my tasks. So basically it would be like um, connect client domain, right? And then the subtask would be set up the sub domain. And then in, I can delete all these, but in the, wrong one, in the setup subdomain, I can then basically put the link here. Oops. And I can, when it stops doing its thing, I can basically put the link here, save it, and then create a template. So I can even have an email that just goes out to whoever's doing it, and I can just say, hey, create new contact information. Here's all the information. It just puts it into ClickUp. And then as you can afford it with your budget, you can have automations that transfer that information over, just using Zapier, Pabbly, whatever. But again, don't automate something that doesn't work, right? Don't automate something that's not fully built out. I like to make sure that process is fully built out, hands-on, then you can automate it, right? That's what the SASO acronym is. Simplify, automate, scale, optimize. So many people love to just jump into automate, jump into scale, jump into optimize. It's like you haven't even simplified the process, so all you're doing is completely backwards. And my favorite is the people who do it backwards. They then come to me and they go, "No, you don't understand. Like we do it a certain way here." And I'm like, backwards. And like, no, no, you don't understand. Like we have to do it this way. And I'm like, show me the order. And like we go here, 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 then here, then here, then here. And then all you have to do is ask their employees and just be like, hey, is this process working? And they're like, no, it's the stupidest process ever. They refuse to listen. It's like, oh, so backwards. I'm like, yes, backwards. Happens every single time. So if your process is, first of all, if your process is complicated, you're doing it wrong because every process should be very simple. It becomes complicated with the sheer volume of simple steps. So for example, brushing your teeth is not that complicated. If I wanted to structure it, I might say walk to bathroom, turn on light, grab toothbrush, run toothbrush underwater, apply toothpaste. This exact much of toothpaste. Begin brushing in small circular motions on the front, on like this portion, right? This grid of teeth, right? Then move here, then move here, then move here, then move here. Now say right? So it becomes complicated when you have the sheer amount of steps. But that's also each step should be simple, and it should be so simple that like a monkey could jump in the driver's seat and follow it, right? I say like if you guys know anything about the military, I say like it should be so simple that like an ASVAB waiver should be able to jump in the driver's seat and do it If you don't know what an ASVAB waiver is, ASVAB is the test you take to get in the military. And if you fail the ASVAB, which is like lowest of the low, like low, low, you can get a waiver. So basically, like, they sign you on saying, like, yes, this guy's mentally competent to be in the military. He's just really, really dumb. So if anybody with an ASVAB waiver can follow your process, now it's good.
Those
And
are the
as you're
guys they put in aircraft maintenance.
those are the guys they probably put on, like, mopping the sidewalk during the rain, right? That's what they put those guys. But yeah, when you're doing that, like, just make sure that the SOPs, when you're doing your SOPs and your communication, it's not about do I understand it. Of course, I would hope to God you understand it. It's about, does my client understand what I'm doing, and does my team understand what I'm doing? So the SOPs are for them. That's why I say your product development is around the client and the team. So if you're saying, like, okay, connect the subdomain and set it up, and I'm like, yeah, I understand that. And let's say Simon's on my team and he's like, I don't know what you mean by that. I can't turn around and say, Simon, you're an idiot. You're so dumb. Or I can't even you can't even think to yourself in your head, like, wow, this guy, I always have to repeat myself. No. If I'm having to repeat myself, it's because my system is not documented enough to where Simon can take it, run away, never talk to me, and still execute. So you actually want to incentivize your team as well as your clients to tell you when they're stuck or frustrated with something. Think about how much more camaraderie and trust that builds, right?
Hmm.
If Simon can say, "Hey, Alec, I know you put this. I don't mean to bother you. Like, am I doing this wrong?" I'm like, "Hey, it's never a bother. Let me look at it. Okay, here's what this means. Here's another way of looking at it." He goes, "Oh, that makes more sense." And I say, "Hey, would it help if I updated that? That would help a lot because that's how I think." Great. And that's just how your SOP becomes really developed. And again, that's why I love Tango AI and ScribeHow, because it's really hard to mess it up when you're following a video. Descript Loom, right? It's funny that what's his name? Shane. I can't remember if his name is Shane or Sean. I think it's Shane, right?
Sean Clark.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah. Shane was the last CEO I worked with. So Sean, not Shane, he switched from Loom to Descript because of, like, the sheer volume. Like, I've been using Descript for a while, but when I saw him do it, I was like, yes, let's go. But anyway, you can still embed the exact same way. So these are YouTube videos embedded, but you can still embed a Descript video or a Loom video and then have your Tango AI come down here. And then if you see what all they're doing and you can see, yeah, this is how they're doing it. See how it's like an actual GIF? I know a lot of people just realize, some people like watching just realize that you can use GIFs for things other than memes, right? It's pretty cool. But that's basically it. Like, there's a few different ways to do it, a few different approaches to do it, of course, but you can have them submit a form, updates custom values, creates a task, and emails you all the information. And then you can either stick with GHL. You can create a bunch of tasks in GHL. You could create a task, like, instead of having it like nested like I have here, I could, in GHL, I could have to where somebody submits one form. So let's say they submit this form, and I could just literally come in here and I could add every task I wanted to if I really wanted to get that way. I could say connect domain, right? And then I could have, like, the link in here to connect the domain. Contact user 5 days. And then I could do another task, right? Add task. And I could, if you wanted to, do it all this way, right? But you can see here, click up sub account. You can see they have these premium accounts that you can connect once you have your process nailed down to where you can start automating it that way. But you could, if you really want to, just manually or automatically creating all these tasks, and then you would just find them in your task dashboard. So you just come to dashboard. You'll get notified when you get a new task, and you have your tasks right here. You can even
I
see, like, your
didn't.
different.
Can you go back to that? What was that actual the Connect sub account? What was that manual action or that automation
Yeah, yeah.
action?
Sub account, sign up for workflows, click up for workflows, create a
So
task from template.
oh, okay.
So, like, the template, if I wanted to create a template here, like, let's say I'd finish all this and then I save this as a template, save as template. Then in GHL, I could create a task using that template.
Sweet. Okay.
Mhm.
I didn't know that they had that in there.
Yeah, high level just had all those added. So your advanced automations. And let me see.
I've actually stopped using ClickUp.
Check this out. You can get this Workflow Pro plan. 15 bucks a month, you get 10,000 free premium actions and trigger executions every month. So it's actually really nice.
Hmm?
Now, it does require you to also have a ClickUp plan, so you can see how it gets a little expensive, but ClickUp also lets you white label. So you can, uh, I never white label it, but some people like it. Mm, yeah, right here. You can white label the whole thing. So you can white label ClickUp, and then you can have the automations in GHL as premium, and you could technically embed that. But yeah, for your onboarding, again, just have an onboarding form, which requires you to know what you need to collect, which requires you. This is why in Say So, what we cover is the guinea pig program, the guinea pig process, which is getting 5 clients. Once you have your 5 clients, you're able to work with them and you're able to figure out all the information you need. So, client number one is going to have the steepest learning curve because you're doing everything from scratch. Client number two is going to move twice as fast. Client number three is going to move 3 times as fast. Client number four is going to be done within like 5 days. So that's the reason behind it. Now, if you think, well, I want to be ready for client number one the same way I'd be ready for client number six, it's that's where people, I don't want to say argue with me, but that's where people will like give me pushback because they're trying to do it in an outdated, incorrect way. And I will like if anybody has a question on that, I can go more into it. We've got about 12 minutes left, so I want to see what questions you guys have. But the biggest, like if you are, let's say you're in Say So, or maybe you're not even in the Say So program, and you're like, what's the biggest takeaway that you could give me? The biggest takeaway is stop trying to figure it out on your own. It's the stupidest thing you could ever do. You have to, it has to be a collaborative effort. If you look at how I do my sales process, the whole sales call is collaborative. The DMs, collaborative. The content, collaborative. The communities, collaborative. It's all collaborative. The whole working relationship is collaborative. If you go think of any time you've had a good experience at any business, it's a collaborative experience every time. You're like, think about like you stay at like the nicest hotel you could ever imagine. How do you think they identify what nice is? Through experience. And whose experience? Their experience? You think it's about the wait staff having a good time? No, I promise you, the guy sitting in the bathroom with the towel over his arm is not having a good time. I don't know if you if you guys have been to those fancy fancy hotels. There's always
Yep.
a guy in there who just like the second you're done bombing the bathroom, he's like, "I'll go clean it up now. Here's a mint. Here's some spray.
I
Here's
was
a
gonna say
towel."
he's got to hand you the mint.
Right, right. Like, why? It's not his experience. It's the customer as the focal point, right? The
Yeah, because
secondary focal point.
every
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of those stays in those kind of hotels wraps up with a basically how was your stay questionnaire. They're asking everyone every time.
And the shallow individual is going to say, "Well, how was your stay?" leads to a review. The intelligent individual understands that how was your stay leads to we need to double down on what they love and we need to improve what they don't like. Because if you do that, they will come back. They will that I mean, people talk about like word of mouth is the best metric. It is. Why? Because trust is you don't have to establish trust with them. It's already built. If you have a great experience, that's going to lead to referrals, reviews, returns every single time. And if you have a bad experience, there's a great book on this. I think I want to say it's E-Myth. Is it the E-Myth Revisited where he talks about the hotel stay? I don't know. I don't think it's E-Myth. I think it's
I
the
don't think
brand
so.
story. I think it's building the brand story again. Or no, it's demand side sales. It's one of those. I want to say it's demand side sales. But what he talks about is this hotel experience. And he says it's one thing to deliver a perfect experience. It's an entirely another level to deliver the same experience every single time.
Hmm.
That's the difference. So if you can have that consistency that you've identified works, again, automation comes after simplification. So it's always about the end user. You know why you should manage your team really well? Because if you manage your team really well, they're going to take care of your end user. That's it. Why should you pay your people above minimum wage? Because if you pay them above the market, you'll attract the best to take care of your end user the best. It always ties back to that because profit is a symptom of a good relationship. They're not gonna, if they're having a good time with you, they'll keep paying. They'll keep paying every single time.
Alec,
Yep.
and how do you know when is the time to hire a VA?
Great question. So what I would do, Dan Martell talks about this, and if you in the book Buy Back Your Time, what I will say is from my own experience, I would tweak what he's saying a little bit to the SaaS side, right? And I think that's the benefit of me being like a nerd and just always reading and trying to do this stuff is that I can take like the general business stuff and I can say, hey, here's how I'd apply it to like the SWAS agency model, right? So and I made this mistake myself. So what I found is what Dan Martell talks about is he says, write out what you're doing, like your full schedule, and then categorize your tasks, right? And I talk about this in SASO a little bit. I categorized it as was what can you automate, delegate, and what do you have to assume for now, right? So when you're starting out, you have to assume everything for now, right? And this is what Gerber talks about. He talks about you have to assume everything in the beginning stages, but you have to work every stage. And so every job should have its own singular core metric that you're handling, right? If you're in charge of sales, your core metric is sales. If you're in charge of customer service, your core metric is customer service satisfaction. If you're in customer success, your number one metric is customer success, right? It's like this core metric that have smaller metrics. In the beginning, you're doing everything yourself. So write everything out. And again, always start with what can I automate, right? So if you're having the onboarding process, can I further automate that? Can I pay to automate it? And will that be less expensive than paying to hire a VA? Now, whatever you cannot automate, whether free or paid, then you look at can I delegate? And delegate would be your VAs. You should be delegating leading with your most menial time consuming tasks, right? So checking your email, I don't know. Is that like I got to do it to do it, or is like, hey, I really need to make sure I'm checking the emails. If it's important, don't delegate it yet. And that's where I disagree with Martell a little bit, as he says like, oh, you shouldn't be touching your inbox, you shouldn't be touching your calendar, and I don't agree with that necessarily because I think he's taking that from his perspective, and I think he's portraying that onto everybody as equal.
Hmm.
So what I say is, what's eating the most amount of your time that if you delegated it would actually get you better results, right? And so what Martell says that is a good thing is he says don't put yourself into an office management position. So that's one thing he says that's really good. He says if you automate growing your company, then you will take the only role left, which is managing the growth. He said don't do that. And I like that. But where I would change it is I would say always keep if you have all your jobs outlined, right? Like Gerber talks about, if you always retain CEO position, you should be delegating the biggest time consumers of your schedule, followed by the things that will really move the needle. So for me, I can't design thumbnails very well, right? So I've delegated that, and my thumbnails are looking a lot better lately. Would it make more sense for me to learn how to do it or just delegate it, right? I'm just going to delegate it. And so the mistake I made was I was like, oh, well, let me listen to Gerber and I'll hire someone to like manage my inbox and everything. And I realized very quickly I don't want anybody touching that because the benefit is talking with Alec. So how can I free up all of my time so that talking with Alec is available within these hours for these people only, right? So in doing that, I realized, oh, the biggest time eater for me is actually content creation. It's like the editing, post recording, right? Post production. So for you, hiring a VA is a matter of hiring a VA should not just be a matter of hiring a VA to hire a VA. It should be a matter of like, what are my tasks that are eating my time that are slowing me down from growth? So if you can, I would write down everything you're doing. And again, start with what you can automate because that might free up a lot more time. A lot more time. Like, what can I automate? What can I then delegate? And in terms of delegation, what is A, eating the most amount of my time? And B, what am I really, really bad at that I'm forcing myself to do? And delegate those two things. So, for example, let's say you're like there's usually two types of individuals that I meet with, or I'll say three types. of people that are actually going somewhere. There's the people who love fulfillment, hate sales, and then they're moderately average at both. That's like the three categories I see. So if you love sales and hate fulfillment, close it, take the money, and then bring somebody on board to execute on the program, right? Or on the offer. If you love fulfillment, hate sales, find some remote setters who can you can pay back end on the back end side a fat commission and pay them a fat commission and incentivize their growth. Either way, you have to manage them as an individual, which is going to be hard to do. But I don't care what anybody says. Managing somebody is a lot easier than doing the work. I hate when people are like, "Oh, it's a different game." Yes, it's much easier. It's much easier to say how your numbers look. Okay, what do you think we need to do better? Okay, let's try that. Great. I'll see you next week. I want to make sure you tried these things. Okay, you did it. Great. How'd it go? Better? Great. Not better? Great. Let's have a new idea. You didn't do these things? I need you to do these things. That's all managing is. The problem is that managing becomes difficult when people can't release authority, number one. And then number two is when they don't empower people to take action. So for you, Omar, like the simple question is, and if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. The simple question would just be, what's eating your time the most that you know if you delegated, you could get better results. You could have more growth.
Okay. Yeah, because I think there's a learning curve also for the VAs, or you need to teach them the process or the things that
Dango,
you.
scribe how. Document it so much so that and VAs too, like I think VAs get a bad rap. VAs are some of the most technically intelligent people. I think they're just really, on average, they're really bad at sales. And so when they're trying to find clients, that's why they'll DM you like, "Hey, sir, here's like 50,000 things I can do. What do you want me to do?" And then you're like, block, spam. People report them to the group, right? That's because they don't understand the sales process. But the technical, like just because the sales process is bad does not mean that they're not technically extremely intelligent people. So you want to make sure that you're documenting your process painfully so. If you can do that and hand it off to them, then it's just a matter of treat them like a customer. What do you like? What do you like? What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? Right? And I would say like don't Gerber talks about this. Martel talks about this. Don't manage by abdication. So that means don't say,
Hmm.
"Hey Omar, I juggle everything. You now juggle everything." It's not going to work because you're expecting, and that's what happens when you ever have you guys ever heard where someone says like what do they say? Your business should rely on systems, not people. You ever heard people talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
What they're trying to say eloquently is, I'll give you the direct answer. You should be able to hire idiots and run an excellent high performing business
Look at
because
McDonald's.
they're following your system. Yeah.
Mm.
Look at McDonald's, and I'm not calling people at McDonald's or Starbucks idiots, but look at for example, look at Starbucks versus Dunkin', right? Starbucks is more expensive. If I order a drink here, I could add the craziest combination. Like, have you guys seen those jokes where they'll be like, "I want 15 pumps of this, 3 pumps of that, remove that, 3 ice cubes." You'll get the same thing at every Starbucks. You go to Dunkin', it's a 50-50 shot, but it's half the price. It's like mixed. It's like coffee drink Russian roulette, right? It's like, and what's funny is my wife used to go to Dunkin' and she's like, I can order the same drink, 5 days, and I'll get a different drink every day. She's like, but I can order one drink at any Starbucks in the world and it's the exact same drink every time. And so the question is that worth more?
That
The
takes
answer
you
is
back to
yes.
the that takes you back to what you were saying about delivering the same experience every
Right.
time.
And that's how Starbucks is able to justify that because their SOPs are so good. Now, I'm not saying Starbucks is hiring only idiots, right? But whoever you could put Alec, right, in a Starbucks and I'll make the exact same drink because it's so meticulously defined in terms of how you're doing it, number one. But number two, equally as important, there's actual monetization of that process. It's one thing to know the right thing to do, it's another to actually do it.
Quality control. What?
Right. Like with the accountability tracker, it's like now you know what to do, but are you actually following the tracker, right? It's two very different games. And I think too many people too many people ask like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And nobody asks, how do I do it? They want the how do I do it done, served on a silver platter. I have people reach out to me all the time. They're like, oh, I want to get all these results and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, great. It costs this much. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine. Here's a DIY course on how to do it. I don't want to do that. It's free. It's on YouTube. I don't want to watch that. Okay.
How bad did you say you want this?
A lot of people they're just lip service. So for you, Omar, just make sure that your process is really nailed down. And all you have to do, because if I say that, I don't want you or anyone else listening to think, oh, I gotta make it perfect. This is all you do. Next time you go to do a task, Loom or Descript, some kind of screen recorder, and Scribe or Tango. Document it, put it in a Google Doc. Each task is a new tab. They get access to the Google Doc, view only, or even comment only. So if they can comment on it when they're confused. So let's say they're working in the Philippines, because I think you're you're Western Hemisphere, right? Let's say they're Eastern Hemisphere, different time zones. They can comment on it. You can wake up and see, oh, this is where they're confused. I can add points of clarity and improve my document.
Mm.
Instead of they're waiting for you to reply, you're waiting for them to reply. You're taking eight days to reply 5 messages, right?
Mm.
And then what you can do is you can hire them and be like, hey, listen, that's what I told one of my VAs. Hey, listen, I have nothing built out. You tell me what, like, when we need to do something, I'll document it, send it over to you, and then you can tell me if it makes sense. Easy. So don't put the pressure should not be because here's the final point I'll say on this. The pressure is not to make it perfect. The pressure should be to listen to what people are telling you. If you listen to what they're telling you, you will make it perfect. You're a married man, right?
Yeah.
Then what I just said will resonate with you 1,000%. Right? Don't do what you think you should do. Just listen to Allie, do what she wants you to do, and learn how she likes it done. So then when you do it without her asking, she's like, wow, Omar, that's so romantic. Wow, Omar, that's so thoughtful. And you're just doing what you know she wants, right? Now, here's the
Yeah.
thing. If you do what you know works with her, and let's say you ever seen that show, it's like this horrible American show, like Wife Swap, where like the dads will switch, the husbands will switch, and they got like kids and everything, and it like shows like they just shows like how different relationships are. So they'll take like this like you know middle-aged white guy and they'll switch it with like some random Korean American family and like the dads will switch. So now the white dad is with the Korean American family and the Korean dad's with the white family. It just shows like how people live such different lives, right? And it very rarely does it ever go well, right? Why? Because if you are doing everything you know that Allie likes as a partner, as a spouse, as a husband, maybe as a father to kids, maybe as a romantic partner, maybe just as a cohabitant, right? Cleaning. And then you go do that with, let's say you and I switch and you're with my wife and you're having to like who cooks, who cleans, it's not established. So then my wife is yelling at you, Allie's yelling at me, and we're messing it up. But our wives loved how we were before we switched, right? So that's where people mess up is people have this like preconceived notion in their mind of this is what this person wants. And then when they go to do it, that person's like, I don't like your product. And they go, oh, but it didn't work out how it was going to work out in my imagination. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, because you got to listen to what they're telling you and you have to adapt to them. The joke is, right? That's like the joke, like women train their husbands, right? It's like, oh, I saw this lady and she was like, if my husband died, I wouldn't get remarried. It's not because I didn't love my husband, but it took a long time to train him. And everyone starts laughing, right? Because that's sometimes how it feels, right?
Yeah.
So you should put the onus of the pressure and the level of perfection should be on just listening. If you listen, they'll tell you everything. They'll tell you how to make a ton of money. They'll tell you how to keep them around forever. They'll tell you how to pay them less than you probably should pay them. They'll tell you how to get them to give you a lot of money, right? I'm not saying use that for evil, but I'm just saying they will literally tell you what to do. That's it.
Okay.
It's like a baby. Like babies cry. There's a when my wife was pregnant, I like started looking up like all the baby stuff, right? And so babies have like 3 or 4 cries. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of men don't know this, right? The women probably all know it. The moms know it, but the men don't. A lot of the men don't know it. So the babies have like 3 or 4 cries. So they'll cry where it's like ah, And then they have a cry where it's nya, right? How they start the cry. So if they cry with I think it's like gas, right? It's like gas or hunger. It's something with the tummy. If they start with no, it's I think yeah, it's gas or diaper. That's what it is. If they start with nya, it's hunger. They're just hungry. So I'm like, is this real? Wife gives birth, baby comes in. My wife's like, what's wrong with the baby? Diaper. Check the diaper. Yep, diaper. Yeah, baby's hungry. I'm like that. I know, and it's not again. This is not specific to my baby. This is like a baby language. Go look it up. It's not. This is not for me. It's a baby language, right? If I go to my daughter at 3 months old and I'm like, "Oh, you're not hungry," well, I'm like gaslighting a toddler, an infant now. You know what I mean? And that's what we do with our customers. It's like we're trying to tell them what they want, and they're like, "No, you moron. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Listen to the cry." Right? That's all it is. Your customers will cry. Your wife will cry. Your team will cry. Sometimes you will cry. If you don't listen to it and address it, it's gonna fall apart.
Mhm.
It's the exact same thing. And what do people tell you with baby? It's funny. I always use other analogies because people like to argue with me all the time with this. When you have a kid, there's no manual, right? There's a lot of books on it. There's a lot of misinformation and information and mass information out there, and it becomes analysis paralysis. But there's no manual when you take the kid home. There's no manual when you get high level, when you start an agency. There's a lot of literature on it, but there's no manual.
Mm.
So the question is, and you hear people say this all the time, nothing like you could, no matter how much you prepare, you'll never be ready for it. And it's a lot of fun and it's scary, but you'll never be ready for it. If you, and think about this, you've got some people who plan for a baby for 10, 15 years, and then it's too late. You can't have a baby. Meanwhile,
Mm.
you have kids getting pregnant at like 16 and they're completely scared and lost, and they go through college and the mom gets a 4.0 as a single mother with a kid, right? I hear that
Mhm.
story all the time. It's just a matter of like, it's okay to be scared and not know what you're doing. It's not okay to postpone it so much so that you lose your dream. So when you're getting them, like when you get these VAs, it's not, I'm not saying your business is your family, but like it's the same principle. Just listen to what they're telling you. So that'd be my advice with the VAs. Hiring anybody, listen to what they're telling you.
Okay.
Give them what they need to succeed. They'll make you a lot of money. And for anybody who's like, I don't know about that, a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, you probably started working for somebody else. You probably were really good at what you did. You probably felt undervalued or underpaid, and you went to do it on your own. How much money did you make other companies while you were in that rut before you went out on your own?
Mm.
Technician.
Yeah, you're in that technician space. Now, here's the question. How much money could they have paid you to stay and you would have stayed? And I assure you, for a lot of people, there is an answer to that question. If I made commission selling college tuition, do you think I would be here? No. I was selling so much money every month on college tuitions. If I got in commission on that, forget about it. I'd be rolling in it like 7 years ago. I'd be very, very wealthy individual. I would never start my own business. There'd be no desire for it, right? So same thing with your people. Find what makes them tick. Find what gets them excited. Give them power and ownership over that. But listen to them. Yeah, if you just listen to them, you'll be all right. Any other questions as we start wrapping up?
No, thank you.
Tech wise, use Upwork and do an hourly rate. It'll screenshot their computer every 10 minutes. You can make sure they're actually doing what you're paying them to do. That's a really nice one.
I've actually been hearing lately how Upwork is spiraling the drain, kind of like Pinterest right now, because they're from a management standpoint, they're trying to take as much money as possible from both sides of the equation.
Yeah,
Just as something to be aware of.
the number one thing that always causes the down, like people always ask, like, at what point do profit margins start dropping? It's always when middle management is needed.
Hmm.
Go look at Netflix 2008 when they were starting to fall and fail. You know what they did? They went in, they said, who's our middle management? And they said the middle management was actually the people who are the really, really smart at what they did. And they're trying to teach the new hires how to do it. And they're like, why don't we just gut all the new hires? Middle management drops down into the technician role, and we pay them a lot more money and give them a lot more freedom to do what they're really good at doing. And Netflix exploded after that. Middle management is always going to be your money eater. I think when people get in management in general, you start seeing like the first touch and taste of power. But that's all we have for today. Again, the onboarding process, very simple. Identify what information you need. You're probably going to leave something out. So as you have new fields, just go and add them. Have an automation that updates whatever custom value needs to be updated. Add in task if you would like to. Create an internal notification with maybe one email with all the information. You can create templates in ClickUp and you can connect them to the automation, but that's about it. Very, very simple.
I think the biggest takeaway here is the imperfect action beats perfect planning.
Oh yeah, every time, man. Go look at the fitness is my favorite one. You have people who are like, I'm gonna plan the perfect workout. It's like if you just started walking every day for an hour, you would have lost more weight than planning the perfect workout 5 years later, a year later, 5 years
Yeah,
later.
for real.
It's got to be perfect. It's like who is saying it needs to be perfect? The chase for perfection is, I think, is just like I think it's just deep rooted in fear. Perfection only comes from collaboration. That's it. You're gonna make mistakes. It's inevitable. If you collaborate with the individual, they're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. You're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. And when you make mistakes, it actually comes to your benefit. There was a story of this software company, and they were doing something with like HIPAA for hospitals, and they were like tracking the users' data. And at one point, something happened to where they didn't track like 100,000 entries. Now, mind you, that was like 5 minute outage. That was it. Like in 5 minutes, like 100,000, something like that. Some crazy amount of numbers came in. And they're like, should we tell the customer? Like, they're not even going to notice it with the billions of data. And they're like, it's the right thing to do. We should tell them. Like, okay. So they go to the customer and they're like, hey, we want to let you know there was an outage. We lost about 100,000 entries. Here's what we're doing to try to fix it. We wanted to let you know, we apologize. If there's anything else we can do, let us know. And they said, they like laughed at it. And they were like, no, we absolutely love this. They're like, do you know the people we had before you would have outages for days, delete our data, and they would never tell us. They're like, that's why we left them. But they're like, the fact that you're telling us before we find out tells us we made the right choice because we understand it's never going to be perfect. We just don't want to be the ones to manage it. But if you're actually communicating, like, that's perfect. And so it was funny because they were so afraid. Like everybody I talked to, oh, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, bro. It drives me. I want to grab. It's like the scuba divers, right? They say when someone's freaking out underwater, you're supposed to like punch them in the nose. It's like I want to like slap them across the face, right? It's like, calm down, calm down, man. It's like it's okay. If you just own it, then people respect that. If somebody you really looked up to says, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. This is what I did, and I think I should try this. I'll keep you guys posted. That's gonna be a lot better than the guy who's like, oh, I've never made a mistake a day in my life. You can be like, okay, you can't relate to that.
Okay, Rob Bailey.
Careful, careful. You'll get a dart to the neck. But yeah, for the automation, very simple. Onboarding, keep it very simple. Map it out. If you have questions, let me know. One more thing I can do really quick. Omar, did you want me to cover the VSL creation, the sales letter?
Yeah, yeah.
That was you that had that question, right? Talking about the content for the VSL.
No, it was just to follow the structure.
Yeah.
Thanks for the story, Alec.
Which oh no. That now I'm gonna get a dart to the neck.
I didn't put any other name on it but yours.
Omar, I'm gonna show you my favorite way to do a script because I think a lot of people will benefit from it. But let me show you my favorite way to do a VSL script very, very quickly. Now, is this a VSL script for you or for someone else? Or do you not care?
Did you do your BSL with the script?
I'm gonna show you the one that I like. Yeah, yeah, it's very similar to this one. This is a better script, I think.
Uh,
So the script that I do is I do an MOR, then I do market data, uh, current solution, reset criteria, and then offer CTA. So I've written a lot of ESLs and I've used it in a lot of different formats. And what I found is that every format that I've ever followed goes in this order every single time. Okay. So the MOR, you guys have heard me refer to this as like the agitating point, right? Like an agitating statement to get someone to pay attention, right?
mhm.
Or I'll say dream state, right? Like here's how we went from here, like 0 to 500,000 in 12 months. Here's how we did, 174,000, 172,000 in 24 days, right? So the MOR refers to the moment of realization. And I changed it from agitating opening to MOR because the MOR it includes the agitating statement, right? If I can agitate you enough to have a moment of realization, then you'll pay attention. If I can tell you somebody's crushing it and you're not, that's gonna agitate you and you're gonna have a moment of realization. If I can share market data or global data that that points to um, the moment of realization, you'll pay attention, right? And I think this should actually be, sorry, hang on. This is actually going to be, we can call this proof of concept data. So realization is going to be one of those things. It's going to be we'll keep it in blue. Agitation, dream, and data. So give me any industry. I'll make a really bad version very quickly just to show you.
Home cleaning.
What was that?
Home cleaning.
Home cleaning. So I think I was telling you this one last week, Simon, but let's go with a global market data, right? What do you guys think would be like? I'll even show you a better example. Omar, Simon, Jake, whoever, what would you think is a good opener to get someone to pay attention or realize they need house cleaning? Just
Like
off the, yeah,
the
go ahead.
end the end client,
Yeah,
customer or the client. Um,
advertisement, copy, sales conversation. Like, what are you gonna say to get someone to realize they should buy your product?
are you ready to look forward to coming home?
Okay, not bad. Now, getting ready to look forward to coming home might agitate the fact that they dread coming home for cleaning, right? If we can have it be more agitating, more dream, and then data driven, those are three great openers as your hooks. And so your three hooks can actually move into the exact same script. This can be the exact same script. And then these can rotate as your hooks, right? For your content, for your VSL, split testing, or even for your advertisements. So agitation might be something like this. Um, you know, and again, I'm going to be like very dramatic here, so I'm not trying to put anybody down who's a dirty home, but I'm going to be very dramatic. And I might say something like, coming home to a dirty house doesn't mean, you're a bad spouse. Leaving it dirty, that's another story, right? So that might be like super agitating. It's like you're just leaving it dirty. Or stop feeling like you don't have enough time to clean, right? Like stop trading your family time for cleaning time, right? So I might like tie into like a deeper agitation. Like, what are they doing if they're cleaning? What are they not doing? Like, imagine every time,
Hmm.
dream state, imagine every time coming home, to a clean home, or prop your feet up every time you come home, right? Or I might do a commercial where it's like they feel like they're coming home to a clean Airbnb or hotel, and it's really just their own home, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Make yourself at home in your own home. I don't know, something like that, right? The global data might say something like, and I think you and I were talking about like the carpet cleaning. I don't know if I think that was with you, where this company was trying to get more carpet cleaning appointments. And so they stopped saying like, "Oh, your carpet's dirty." They just started saying, "Hey, if you have carpets, you have dust mites. You're not allergic to
Oh
dust
yeah.
mites, but you are allergic to their excrement, and they poop a lot. And when you breathe in their poop, you get sick." And so now people are so disgusted by the global data or the market data that they're like, "Okay, I want to hop on this cleaning subscription where they come and clean my carpets every, 4 to 6 months." So for your MOR is that they have to have this moment of realization, right? And so, for example, like Omar, let me ask you, are you shopping for a bed right now, like a mattress?
Mm, no.
No. So if I start selling him a mattress, he's not going to be interested. Now, if Omar goes to bed and wakes up with a very painful crick in his neck, he might say, I need a new bed or a new pillow. Now, he might not immediately wake up and say, I need a new bed. He's going to do what? He's going to describe the symptoms. So the MOR is focusing on the symptoms of the pain that cause you to make space in your brain to shop. So he might say, my neck hurts. I woke up with my neck hurting. Therefore, something happened in my sleep. In my sleep, I used a pillow and a blanket, or I used a pillow and a mattress, right? And I slept in this position. Now, I can't change the position I sleep in, right? I can't be like Dracula. So it's probably something like I should be able to sleep however I'm sleeping, but the pillow and the mattress had something to do with it. So now, in the back of his mind, he might start subconsciously making space to start considering mattresses and pillows, right? Now, all of a sudden, he realizes, holy cow, there's like 15 Mattress Kings near my house. I've never seen these before a day in my life. When my wife wanted to go car shopping, I'd never even seen this car before. She tells me the car, and now I see it everywhere, right? And so I would say the idiots will call that law of attraction. It's not that. It's the I think someone was telling me it's like the RAS or something, right?
Yeah, reticular activation system.
Right. So now you're just collecting that. You're actually aware of, cognizant of that data that's been there the whole time. You're just now paying attention to it. So it feels like you're seeing it for the first time ever. It's been there the whole
Yeah.
time. So the MOR, no one, like, this is what I try to tell people. Like, chronologically, you have to go in this order. No one is going to follow this order unless you hit it in that order. No one. When the VAs message you and they're like, "Sir, here's everything we do," they've skipped all these points, so you're not buying. Could they do something you need? 100%, but they're just skipping right to here. It doesn't work. When you're just dry firing, just straight from the hip, like, "Hey, uh, we can help you increase your YouTube conversion rate. We can help you get more leads." It doesn't work because
My
they
favorite
haven't.
are the ones that contact you out of the blue to sell you solo ads without having any idea what your business model is or that you want solo ads at all.
Right. So unless there's this MOR, no one pays attention.
Yeah.
And so, anybody watching Squid Games season two?
Yeah.
Okay, so Omar in the first episode or the second episode where he's back in the game and he realizes, oh, I have to play the game again, right? Because they find the tracker in his tooth. And so, what is the first game that they play? The red light, green light, right?
Hey, no spoilers here.
Ah, the same one of the first,
Yeah,
the doll.
right. So it's red light, green light, right? And so, what does he say? He says, "Hey, if you move, you're out, and when you're out, you're dying. Like they're gonna, you know, knock
Hmm.
you out of the game physically, right?" And what does everyone say? He's drunk, he's crazy, he's silly, right?
Yeah.
And then the game starts and they go, "Oh, he's right." His message didn't change. What happened?
Awareness.
They had the moment of realization that what he was saying was right.
Mm,
And why? Because the symptom, which was what he said was going to happen, happened. So when they had the moment of realization, then they listened to what? His proof of concept data. Hey, because I've won this before, because I've played this before, because now you're paying attention, let me, and like I've done this before. So they realize he's right about the consequences of losing. Then they go, well, how do we win? And they're going off of his proof of concept data. Here's how I've won the game before. Here's how I've gotten people to 10,000 a month. Here's the process I've used to close. I've won before. I've gotten this guy to 10K, this guy to 10K, this guy to 10K, this guy to 10K, right? It's all proof of concept. So it's like, hey, I realize I'm wrong. This guy has proof of concept, so I should listen to what he's saying, right? So proof of concept is going to be we've done this before. Here's case studies. Here's more global data, right? We know that if someone doesn't reply within 5 minutes, they're going on to the next person. We know from Google, 67% of all business goes to the top three map pack, right? There's data you can leverage. So the data can be your own case studies, or it can be just global market data from Google, from Bing, from Yahoo, from insert whatever. Doesn't matter, right? Then we look at resetting the current solution. Sorry, the current solution. So the current solution might be like, you're trying A, B, and C. You're doing X, Y, Z. And here are the consequences of doing that, right? You're listening to scam affiliates, right? And again, people go, not a scam affiliate, not a scam affiliate. And then what do they do? Come back 3 months later. Oh yeah, who's a scam affiliate? Yeah, shocker, right? So what happens? They have the moment of realization. Alec never changed his message, right? Right? Omar, he's like, I played these games before, right? He didn't.
Yeah.
What's his name? Ji Hyun. He didn't change what he was saying.
Mhm.
They just now opened their ears because they had the MOR. So the current solution is what? You listen to people who tell you, pick a product, they're gonna love it, and then go sell it. Build it and they will come. Fill the dreams. What happens is that doesn't work. When that doesn't work, we look at three problems: external, internal, and philosophical. Okay? This is what you're covering. You try A, B, and C. It doesn't work. So you feel like a loser, a fraud, going nowhere. Your mom was right about you your whole life. It shouldn't be that way. What if there was a way that could do this, do this, do this, and do this? Oh, we do that. That's how the flow goes. So, like Omar, what's your offer for your audience right now?
Um, the automation for the agency.
Okay, so you don't automate your agency. So you're stuck doing a lot of the work manually and inconsistently. Because it's manual and inconsistent, you're wasting a lot of time and you have no idea what path to take because you're not tracking any of the data. Because you're taking a lot of time and because you're not tracking your data and because you don't know what works or doesn't work, you're not making progress. So you start feel like you're spinning your wheels. You're going nowhere. You feel like you're wasting time and money. And honestly, you don't even know if you're wasting time and money because you're not tracking anything. So you start feeling like a fraud. You start feeling like a fake. You start feeling like a loser. You start feeling burnt out because you're doing all this extra work. Automating your business shouldn't be scary, shouldn't be difficult, and it shouldn't be complicated, right? So I just right there in like 30 seconds, I've covered all three problems. And there's all three. There's all three. Anyone who goes, like, give me a problem that you think is only external.
Only external, maybe getting clients.
If you can't get a client, you feel like a loser, your offer sucks. I shouldn't feel that way. That's always how it goes. Philosophical is always just a should statement.
Mm.
I shouldn't feel that way, or I should feel like I can close statements, or I feel like I should be getting more clients. That's it. Resetting criteria. What is resetting criteria? What are the parameters that that should be there? You can basically say, imagine if, or you need. You need something that does this, does this, does this, does this. I'm not saying your brand at all. You need something that you need a process that identifies who you're gonna work with, builds a product around what they want so you know they're gonna be buying it, gathers social proof, reinvest that social proof into your content to get more people, and then when you get to a surplus of $1,000, then you can move into paid marketing ads. And that's gonna be the perfect way to really nail down your process and your product before dumping ads into money. And they're gonna say, yeah, that makes sense. And you go, great. And Say So 5.0, that's the exact program we take you through. And we have 2 group calls every week. We have a client snapshot, an agency snapshot. We have a community. We have trainings. We have blah, 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 right? So I'm saying we meet the criteria and then some. And then your CTA, I usually do 2 CTAs, which is basically if you want to join the program, go here. But if you're not ready yet, we have a free community. If you want to talk to me beforehand, you can go here. If you want to see our free, if you want to download our PDF on ABC, go here. If you want my video lead magnets, comment 3x on my pin post, right? And that's usually what I do. And again, this is just a starting funnel. So again, it's just moment of realization. What data do you have to support? What data do you have that they should listen to? This is your white coat. Somebody walks in, you're at the doctor, somebody walks in with a white coat, you're going to think that's a doctor. It's the pre-frame. Go read any book. What's the forward of every marketing business book ever? I worked with Omar back in 97 and this guy made me a ton of money. Listen to every word he has to say. Go read any business book forward. That's what they all say. Hey, my name's Omar. I'm extremely good at what I do. I'm super well
Edification.
known. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm super well known. I worked with Simon, and because I'm a really smart guy and Simon helped me make a lot of money, Simon's a really smart guy. Chapter 1. I'm Simon. That's every forward ever. Go read any forward ever. Why? It's the white coat. It's just the doctor's white coat. And think about this on the flip side. If my mechanic comes out to get my car or to work on my car and he's covered in oil and has on his like one piece zip up jacket, I'm like, yeah, that's a mechanic. I don't care, male, female, doesn't matter. They come out, rag, taking the oil off their face. I'm like, yeah, this person knows what they're doing. They could be a complete idiot. I don't know. Right? Doesn't matter. Your white jacket. And then, oh, what are you currently doing? It's the car's grinding. I don't know what it is. I got to get to work. And then what's the philosophical question? My car should be working fine, but it's not. That's all it is. Right? Just a should. Right? I shouldn't have to work on my car. I don't know what I'm doing. Right? And then, oh yeah, what is it? What does the mechanic say? Oh yeah, you need this, 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 and this. And then they either sell you, we can do it, or no, we can't do it here. That's it every time. Oh yeah, you need somebody who can work on Teslas. We can't do that here. You need somebody who works on Teslas. We can do that. Okay, how much is it going to cost me? Well, the full thing would be this, but if you want just the basic minimum to get it back on the road again, you need that. So with your VSLs, that's exactly what you're doing. What's the moment of realization in my video? Hey, you probably got scammed before. You probably work with somebody who told you you're going to get all this stuff, and then you go to do it, it doesn't work, and you feel like a loser. It shouldn't be that difficult. Guess what? It's not that complicated. Doesn't make it easy, but it's not that complicated. You need a program that focuses on a sub community so you can stand right. That's my VSL. That's all it is. And what's really cool is if you want this MOR, all you have to do is write this. What is your conception story? How did you conceive the idea of your business? Go watch Shark Tank. Every single person that comes up on Shark Tank, what do they always start with? The conception story. It's the
How'd
exact
you get
same.
started?
How'd you get started? It's the exact same as the MOR because
Mhm.
they're telling you the story of how they came to this moment of realization. Right? I'm a dad and I always had to take care of I'm a stay-at-home dad and I had to take care of my baby and I'm former military. And when I was diaper bag shopping, I realized that every diaper bag is very feminine and I feel like I'm a guy's guy. So I made army style diaper bags. That's a literal product. Go look it up. That's his conception story. He's like, I made army style. And then on top of that, I added all the functionality of the bags I loved in the military. It's a true story. But he's covering the moment of realization because the moment of realization causes other people to realize, yeah, yeah, those diaper bags are feminine. Yeah, I do want to, I'm a dad. I want to feel like, a man's man. Real men take care of their baby. That could be their whole tagline. You know what I mean? Like real men take care of the baby. If I were doing their ads, that'd be every single one of my ads. Real men take care of the baby, and then the bag is the guide to you being a real man and a real father. Real men take care of the baby, and then I just run different ad sets of The dad at the park with the kid, the dad at the pool with the kid,
Ooh,
the
uh,
dad at dinner with the kid.
a tactical bag for after your service.
Yeah, yeah, something like that, right? You know what? Tactical bag for your second tour,
Yeah.
right? Your tour with the
Tact
kids.
Tactical tidy.
And I'd make all my jokes about like,
Yeah. Like,
and I'd even run a commercial where it's like the mom is like a spa at home. It's like, do you hear that? No kids. Why? Because dad is now capable enough to watch the kids, right? The conception story is always your moment of realization. So what I do with my clients when I write them a VSL is I literally tell them audio record your conception story. Just tell me, how'd you come up with this idea? How'd you get into the cleaning business? And what's funny is everybody has that conception story, that moment of realization. If you read this book, what does E refer to in E Myth? Entrepreneur.
entrepreneur.
Yeah. And what does he say everybody has? An entrepreneurial seizure. What is an entrepreneurial seizure? It's the moment of, oh, I could do this. It's just the conception story. How did you come to that conclusion? And what I do is I go to Claude AI. I take this document, and what they'll do is if they record it or write it, I'll just transcribe it, right? I go to Claude. I say, take this conception story and apply it to this framework. And the framework should be moment of realization, supporting data. What do people currently do that's not working? Resetting the criteria of what they should do, the offer, and the call to action. And it's all going to be found right here. Go look at any business ever. They tell you the whole thing. And so that's if you want to write a VSL for someone, literally, I need your consent. I need the story of how you got started. Don't hold back any details. Take it. I don't even read it. Take it. Go to Claude. Apply this framework, and then I read it. Change this. Tweak this. Go here. That's it. And what's cool is if they tell you the conception story, whose voice is this in?
Theirs.
So I
Yeah.
can tell Claude, write this in the exact same style and tone that the document is in. So now when they see the VSL, they go, this sounds just like me. Crazy. And they love it.
Mm.
But this is the exact framework I use every single time now. Everything I've ever recommended in the past, like sometimes I'll say reset criteria, and sometimes I'll do like CTA here. And then in my CTA, I'll do, no, sorry, I'll do a CTA, and then I'll do a disqualifier, and then I'll do a secondary CTA. It's just a more dramatic version of a CTA. So I'll say something like, work with us if you're doing A, B, and C. But if you're not serious about this, or if you're not this person, don't work with us. You're wasting our time. You're wasting your time.
Mm.
For the rest of you, go ahead. It's just an elaborate CTA, but that's the exact framework every single time.
And what did you use for edition? Because I saw that you move your
Yeah,
cycle.
Descript.
Is the script?
Yeah, Descript lets you do that. That's why I love Descript because it records your computer and your self view as two separate footage.
Ah,
Yeah. Now, if you have
and that
OBS,
creates.
yeah, you can drag it around and move it. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Now, here's a little trick. If you use OBS, what you do is you change your recording ratio to this. So instead of 1920 by 1080, you do 1920 times 2. So now it's a very
7840.
wide, yeah. And what you do then is scene 1 is your screen, scene 2 is yourself. And then what you do is you duplicate the project. You cut this out on this one, keep the self. You cut this out on this one, and then you have two different pieces of footage, two different
Mm.
files, one for self view, one for screen view. And then you don't have to worry about
Schmancy.
you don't have to worry about like transitioning between screens or between scenes if you know OBS, you don't have to transition between scenes. And then let's say you transition at the wrong time, you're like, oh, I didn't realize it, right? If you do it like this, you can change it however much you want.
Hmm.
This is a little video editor trick that an editor showed me. This is not my idea.
Do you use OBS?
I did, but to me it freezes too much when I'm working, so I just go with Descript.
Okay.
Yeah, OBS would crash too much. I don't know why. New computer, updated it, tried all that stuff. Sometimes it just freeze on me or just frustrate me. But when I did use OBS, this is exactly what I did. But yeah, just use this as your VSL framework. It works very, very well. And it tells the story. It's like Here's the story I went through. And then in the conception, like what's the data is shown in there, right? I was in this industry. Once we did this, it started working really well. And here's the results we got, right? Now, here's what you're probably trying to do. You're probably trying to do this because how do I know? Because I try to do this. And when you do this externally, you have this internal frustration. 8 billion people on the planet, we all have the same emotions. When you have this frustration, you feel like it should be easier. You ever put furniture together, Omar?
Excuse me?
You ever put furniture together, like assemble a table or a couch or a bed frame?
Mm,
No.
yeah.
So my wife will like order something and I got to put it together. You know, you ever been there? So when I have to build it and it doesn't work, I'm like externally the piece doesn't fit in the hole. Internally, I get frustrated. Philosophically, I say it shouldn't be this hard to put together a stinking bed frame. Everything you do has those three problems. So you identify those three problems because then they're going to relate with that. The worst VSLs ever just talk about the external problem.
Mm,
Don't be that. Don't do that. You want more leads.
We'll get you more leads.
Yeah, it's too external. No
Wah,
one
wah.
it doesn't do it. It falls flat.
Well, that ties into people don't make decisions based on logic. They make decisions based on emotion, right?
People buy for one reason, improvement.
Yeah, you have to get into the emotion before they're going to make a choice to even listen.
Yeah, people buy based on improvement. So until they understand that there's a room for improvement, they're not going to want to improve. Again, moment of realization. Until you realize
Cool.
I could improve my bottom line by doing this on my own, you're not going to do it. Until you realize my neck really hurts because of the bed I slept on, you're not going to buy a new bed. If somebody comes to me
mm,
right now and says, Alec, do you want to buy a new phone? No. But it's a great deal. It's even free. I'll give it to you for free. I don't need it. I don't want it. There's too much hassle in changing it than, you know what I mean? That's why you see the race to the bottom with the price race that people do. So with your VSL, moment of realization based on the conception story, data you have to reinforce what's your white coat, right? What are people doing that's wrong? And what are the internal or the external, internal philosophical problems they're experiencing? Reset the buying criteria without mentioning yourself. If you say you need Omar because A, B, C, no, you need A, B, and C. Now, Omar satisfies that. You need X, Y, Z. Simon does that. And what's funny is I'll even challenge people like, you need something that does A, B, C. I do that. But if you find someone else that can do it for you for cheaper, by all means, go ahead. But because I've reset the buying criteria to be so specific to what I offer, you never can. That's why when people start matching tit for tat, it becomes a race to the bottom because then the only differentiator is price. Oh, you need gas in your car? Well, it's 389, but if you can find cheaper, go ahead and do that. And the gas station across the street's like, hey, we can do that. And then they're like, no, hey, whoa, 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 stay here, stay here, stay here. We'll give you 5 cents off if you sign up. We'll give you 10 cents off. And they're like, hey, you be quiet, right? Because it's the same product. Like that little skit right there should tell you why high level as a white label is the worst thing you can do. Because you're
Yep.
just saying, hey, we're Funnel Kings AI. Well, we're Funnel Queens AI. We only work with female entrepreneurs. It's like, wait, you guys do the same thing? And they're both like, no. And they're like, yeah, you do. Oh, I was getting it from you cheaper. I'll get it from you cheaper. And then you got the people who will post occasionally in high level and what they say. Guys, help. My client found out that I use high level and now they fired me and they went to their own and they just got their own high level account. What do I do? It's like you unwedge your head from your you know what and you stop white labeling high level. It's not your software. I don't care how many people tell you you can have your own software. It's not your own software.
Mm-mm.
That's like
It's
saying, "Oh, I can use
it's
ClickUp. It's my own software." No, it's not.
it's your software if you get to drive the development change
Yeah, and if you
platform.
can choose who's using it or not, I can fire
Yeah,
anybody off of my
yeah,
white label, right? High level can fire me whenever they want.
yep. Cool.
But yeah, I wanted to just share that with you, Omar. That's the exact format framework we use every time. And the biggest thing you can get is ask them, give me your conception story. How did you
mm.
conceive this idea? What made you want to do this? Don't hold anything back. A lot of people hate typing. Record your audio, voice note, voice memo, send it over to me, and then you transcribe it.
What if your origin story is I needed to pick a niche and it was there?
Why was it there? There's got to be something deeper. If there's nothing deeper, then you might be in the wrong space. Like for me, agencies, I can't stand. I hate the agency space. Hate it. And that's what I work in. What happened was for me is I made this is my conception story. I made a post saying there's a lot of I was in a group. There's a lot of people just saying all this stupid bad information. And I was like, guys, I was like, listen, this I've seen a lot of people say how to do this and ask this question. Everything I've seen has been wrong. This is what I do. Here is the reason why you should listen to me, if at all. People have done more than me, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Advice: if you have any questions, reach out to me. Went to bed, woke up, I had 28 DMs asking me, can you coach me? Can you help me? Can you scale my agency? And I
Mm.
was like, oh, but I have one. And I was like, nah, let me just wait. And they're like, please, I will pay you. Like, what is your price? And I'm like, okay, I obviously have something here from what I've done with my first couple of businesses. So I was like, let me try it. And then screenshot, result. And then people saying, oh, I want those results. I want that. It's like, oh, so it's almost like the niche kind of picks you. It's like the Harry Potter scene where it's like, try this one. And it like fires off to the left. He's like, try
Oh
this one,
yeah.
fires off to the right. Try this one. Oh, there's your wand, Harry. Like that's it. It's the same thing.
No, I literally chose it because I did some research that showed that it was fairly stable, and your training says don't spend a lot of time on it. Just pick one and start.
But if you look to it like the and I think this is true for you. If you look to it like, okay, how do you pick one and start? You look at where you have trust already established. And I think for you, you had somebody in that space.
Yeah, one person,
Right.
and they've bailed on me.
But you see why too, it's so important to have that guinea pig to work with.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Because now I don't have that, and I'm actually trying to get her to come back on a temporary basis.
Mhm.
We can talk about that later. But
I would look at, look at what it is they want and how you're going to help them get it.
hmm yep, that's exactly what I did. I'm waiting for a response.
Yeah. And then it's just magnifying that offer.
Yeah.
If you're ever not getting sales, there's three reasons you're not getting sales. Your offer sucks, your offer is not understood, and then you're not getting it in front of enough people. Offer sucks. Is it tied to problems they have and solutions they want? Offer is not understood. Are you framing it in a way where it's understood what you do? If someone's like, I don't really know what he does. If you can't even say, here's what I do in a sentence, then how can you expect them to do it, right? And then
Yeah.
if you've identified those two, then it's just a matter of just volume. How do I get this message in front of more people?
Yep.
That's all it is, right? If you disagree with me, there's people who sell gnomes on Etsy and they do like 50,000 a month. The product is what people want. It's understood what you're getting. It's getting in front of people at volume, right? People buy weird stuff all the time. And I that's what the order I always go in. What is your offer? And that's usually where people fall apart. Well, we do everything for everybody. Okay, well, let's fix that. Now, is it understood? Well, we do like go read I think it's like Airtable. If you try to read Airtable's website, it's very confusing what they do. It's not written from like the user's point of view. I think I might be wrong, but last time I saw it, it was like very maybe it's not Airtable. It might be another one.
Yeah. Create modern business apps to manage and automate critical processes.
Yeah, it's like what is it? I don't know what that
That's
like.
vague.
It's right. It's not clear. There's no A to Z transformation.
Transform digital product development and scale. Harness the power of AI to help build better products faster.
And if
That's a
they
little
just
better.
told you this is if they just rephrase it as like Excel on steroids, they probably get more sales. It's a great if you know Airtable, it's a great
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal tool. But if you just said Excel on steroids, that might perform better. And then once you have those two, then it's just getting in front of people. If you get in, and think about it, if you get in front of people and it's not clear what you do, it's going to fall flat. If you get in front of people and you have no offer, what are you going to like? Why would anybody buy from you? That's why companies love word of mouth because they go, oh, you've skipped the two parts that we suck at, and you're just telling other people to join us. And with it, you're doing the silent part. Look at high level. High level's marketing sucks. Sorry, they're awful. What does Halo do? Oh, go look at their advertisements. It's not good stuff. If they position themselves as the core software stack to scale your agency, right? And they empowered the affiliate side. The affiliates are doing the 99% of the marketing. If you empowered the affiliates more so, which they do a great job of doing, but if you gave them more ammunition and then just listen to the feedback from people, you do a better job. But when they start getting into like, oh, we're gonna start adding products, it's like wrong. It's not. You're leaving your customer base. You're leaving your consumer base. Don't do products. Don't do shop. Don't compete with Shopify. Integrate with Shopify. Don't compete with Shopify. That's stupid. But we'll go ahead and wrap up. Omar, I just remember you had that question. I didn't want to leave you hanging. And we'll have a call tomorrow night. And I think we're going to have Stephanie come on and we're going to actually look at her nail salon snapshot. So that'll be pretty cool.
Very cool.
Thank you, Alec.
But all right, guys, have a good one. See you next time.